Good evening. Thanks for turning up. Good to see some of the council officers who were doing the down there in the marketplace coming to listen as well. But yeah, no, I'm not joking on that. But it's good that there's the wider interest here. Thanks for turning up on this in this inclement evening. I'm Tony Lukey. I'm chair of the Isleworth and Heston South, Isleworth, Osterley and Spring Grove Area Forum. Let's give some introductions whilst we're here, if people haven't come before.
Hello, I'm Councillor Karen Smith from Hounslow South.
Councillor Sue Sampson, Isleworth Ward.
Councillor Aftab Siddiqui from Osterley and Spring Grove Ward.
I'm Bill Lee, I'm the clerk, hence no nameplate, I don't count.
I'm Tony Lukey, I'm from Osterley and Spring Grove Ward, chair of the meeting.
Hello, I am Councillor Sarah Raza, I'm vice chair of the forum, thank you. Hounslow South Ward.
John Stratton from Isleworth Ward.
Salman Shaheen, Isleworth Ward.
Unsa Chowdhury from Osterley Spring Grove.
Thank you. I've got apologies for absence from Councillor Tom Bruce from Hounslow South Ward. Have any councillors got any declarations of interest on any of the items here today? That's good. We've got a few people presenting. First up is Martin Waddington, who's lead on health contracts and similar. He's better at describing it himself. He's going to do a bit of presenting, very brief, but on health in the borough, but health delivery in the borough of Hounslow, maybe how it applies to us here in Osterley and in the area. And there'll be time for questions. Usually, how it works is councillors ask, people present, councillors ask questions, and then members of the public ask questions. And after that, we'll be looking at getting a transport update, and we have had a few transport questions as well coming in. So some of our officers got far to go home, so we'll take the transport questions element from the open forum after that presentation, and then we'll look at other stuff, community hubs, and then the open forum. And then the open forum afterwards. You'll take it away, Martin, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'm Martin Waddington. I'm the Director of Commissioning for the Council, but I'm also the Borough Director for Hounslow for the North West London ICB, which is the Integrated Care Board, which is the NHS. As Councillor Lukey said, I'm here tonight to talk about health services in this area. In fact, I'm focusing mainly on primary care tonight. So if you want a wider presentation on other health services, that's for another evening. But tonight, I will focus on primary care. I have thousands of slides, but I'm going to be very quick. So in Hounslow, there are 46 GP practices, and there are 5 primary care networks. A primary care network is a group of GP practices that come together to try and work together more in a system. So across Hounslow, there are these 5 primary care networks, but of course we're interested in the Brentworth primary care network tonight. And within that area, there are these 7 GP practices. So hopefully most of you in the room will be associated with one of these practices and will have a view on them. The point of primary care networks are all of these individual primary care services are meant to work together better to look after the community of Brentworth better as a system. There is a belief that the more at scale primary care is, the more you can have local services on your doorstep and less going to the hospital. There are 2 important characters, Dr. Sarvesh Sani and Dr. Parmod Luthra, and they're the 2 clinical directors for this area. So they're the 2 people who are clinically responsible for primary care in this area. So, what do? They, of course, deliver general primary care for the local population, but they also have practice-based pharmacists. So in most practices now, there is a local pharmacist. They have social prescribers. These are people who will signpost you to other services outside of health and care. So if you have issues on being socially isolated, need links to the voluntary sector, need help with repairs, need help with other issues, the social prescribers will be able to support you in your GP practice. There's a physiotherapist, there's mental health practitioners, and there's diabetes dietitians. So the aim over the coming years is that more and more services are within primary care on your doorstep. You can go into your local GP practice, and somewhere in that network you will be able to get additional services. So there are two ways of contacting your GP, and this is always the issue that we focus on. Can you get appointments? So telephone or online. So we are trying to move to more online services, but of course there are people who are not digitally active, and we need to make sure there are other ways of accessing them. I've got hundreds of slides now just to show that we do really pay a lot of attention to whether residents can access primary care. I'm not going to share them all with you, but what these show is within the Brentworth area, a high 59% of people say it's easy to contact their GP practice on the telephone. So 59% isn't fantastic, but if you look nationally, it's 50%, and across Northwest London, it's 58%. So Brentworth, a high percentage of the population are saying they can contact their GP easily. Percentage of patients saying yes, they knew what the next steps were after a GP appointment, 83%. So it seems that people in this area, when they contact their GP and get engaged with the services, they understand their journey through the health system. Percentage of patients saying their overall experience of contacting their GP is good, so 71%. I can carry on. There are lots of slides saying about having the right appointment, 63%. Confidence in the healthcare professional, 93%. So this is data from patients who are using the services. So we always are striving, and access is our biggest issue, to try and improve access to primary care so people can access care when we need. But the data tells us things are quite good in this area. I will now be quiet. That is the main area on primary care. And Chair, over to you and for questions. And then I've got a few slides on Darcy after, or would you like me to do those now?
Do it now if you like, and then do it now. Introduce what Darcy is, and then we can.
As you all know, the current government were very keen to ensure that they had a good overview of the NHS as they come into power, and they've asked Lord Darcy to look at have a quick assessment on what are the big issues for the NHS. And here is a list of those. So loss of trust the public have in the NHS. Health of the nation is deterioration, much more increased a number of people long-term health conditions, long waiting times, access to primary care continues to be difficult, cancer care is behind in any other countries, capital investment, so the actual physical buildings of lots of the health system are very poor. So this government has entered into a stage of an NHS that has to have a fundamental review and change. We have heard this recently in the news. So what are we doing locally? Well, as you know, this report has only come out really recently, but some of these issues we've been fully aware of. So we are really trying to work with patients more. We engage with patients in Hounslow a lot. There are quite a few people in this room, but regularly there are people who we talk to about access, and we do try and work with patients. We are, our whole aim across North West London is to improve access to care closer to home, better working in the community. One of my main roles within the council and the NHS to make sure the council and the NHS work better together, so more integrated services, more joined up services, increased technology. So all the agenda that the government have identified are areas for priority for North West London and for the council to improve care for patients.
Okay, yeah, look, thank you, Martin. It's a big, obviously it's a big area to discuss. But councillors, any questions to Martin about local services and local impacts? Unsa.
So my question is, Bedfont and Feltham seem to be consistently scoring quite highly. What are they doing that's different to the surgeries in Brentworth?
On
Yeah.
I think you need to ask the residents of that area. So I think all areas are working well together. I think if you look at the percentage changes, they're quite small. So my view is I wouldn't say that's significantly different. My view is all primary care networks doing quite similar things at the same pace, in the same way. So nothing special in my view.
Councillor Stroud, John.
Yeah, we're obviously at the moment within the borough doing a lot of developments, new housing, etc. And we know that there's a lot of pressure on GP services and people getting access to dentistry is a completely different issue. But how are we holding up as a borough with people being able to register new GPs and the increase in the density in some areas of accommodation?
So, as you are fully aware as councillors of this area, we are building at quite a rapid rate. And our GP, the age of our GPs is quite old. So it is a real challenge, councillor. And I think long term, the aim, so in Chiswick, we're developing a new Chiswick Health Centre. I think going forward, the aim is not to base all primary care around GPs, but to ensure that a GP practice has all specialities that deal with people. So nurses, physios, GPs, even some minor surgery happening on those sites to meet the demand. So I think to meet that growing demand in population, we need to diverse who people want to go and see. And I think in 10 years' time, you probably will not see your GP as regularly as you do. Secondly, we do need the capital space. So myself and my NHS hat on work with Niall and the council to make sure that SIL 106 money, capital money, is considered for health buildings as well as for building the houses. And I know you as a group of councillors all support the need for the infrastructure to support the new population arriving in Hounslow. So it is going well, but I think it is a real challenge. And the work we're doing around health and care integration to make sure the council and the NHS are really working to meet the demands of that population is really important.
Thanks. Anyone else? Councillor Siddiqui, Aftab.
Yeah, thank you very much, Martin. Okay, thank you very much, Martin, for a very good presentation. I think just a follow-up question, and I think we as councillors and general community does face that, is that we have got a very rapid infrastructure or housing development plan. And the biggest concern with the community is that there's not enough school, GP surgeries, and health facilities around. Would you explain in terms of where at present you interact with the overall development plan, and where do you provide input in terms of that a new health facility or a GP is required here? There are like, say, 7,000 new residents coming down here, so we need this. When that interaction happens, and just give us some example of that. It will help us basically in terms of new development. It will allay a lot of fears people have in mind, which probably, better communication can help with. Thank you.
So just building on the answer, I think, I'm proud to work for Hounslow. I think it's a very good council. The council works very close with the NHS. I am privileged in a place where I work for both organisations. So we have very early sight of all developments that are happening in Hounslow. So I think as with all these things, we've got to plan early. So of the new sites, and I'm not going to list them, but there is new developments over here. I am fully aware of them. I share that with my NHS colleagues, and we start working with the council to plan how we will have the resource, the NHS resource, to meet the needs of that new population. So it's not that you build the houses and the NHS come along and go, how are we going to meet the needs? We are working together. And I again say the Chiswick Health Centre is a great partnership between the council and an NHS. So, I think we do it really well. It's difficult because we are a stretched place, but, I think we plan very early together and work together to ensure those services are in place. Thank you.
We could go on all night with this, but if we can have, if we can just have a few questions for Martin. Put your hands up. Let's see who wants to ask a question. Okay, all right. Let's take the lady in the middle there, please, first. Then the lady next to her to the right, and then Mr. John Cooper. Oh, okay. Well, okay. You go first, and then don't fight over the mic.
I was looking at the areas that you cover, and I noticed that Isleworth wasn't mentioned. So where does that sit? I mean, you mentioned Feltham, Brentworth, Chiswick.
Yeah, so it's very confusing.
Because
it is very confusing. I apologise for that. The NHS and the council do try and define areas in the same way, but the primary care network of Brentworth is a mixture of Brentford and Isleworth. So it is called Brentworth, but it is Brentford and Isleworth. Right. So that is primary care area that you are, and Isleworth is within.
I know my nearest GP practice hasn't got a pharmacy, although there's a chemist practically opposite, but I go to Twickenham. Because when I moved into the area, I was given the choice of 2 health centres, and I chose to go to the one at Witten Corner rather than the one at Maswell Park. So how did that happen? Why was I guided to 2 different ones?
Clear. I can't answer that question absolutely because I wasn't present, but the clear thing about primary care is you don't have to register with your most local GP. You can choose which GP.
Right.
And all GPs are inspected by the Care Quality Commission. Mm. So maybe the person who advised you was advising you of the best GP practice in the area rather than your closest one.
Right.
Whether that's good advice, I think being too close to your closest one's good, but being too a good one. So I would say that was what happened. And as I say, there isn't a pharmacy on every single GP practice. No. Within the primary care network, there are pharmacists, and pharmacists are becoming a much stronger relationship with GPs.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Lady next to you.
Hello, everybody. I might say that Lord Darcy, when he was in charge, 2007 or 2008, he was really, and I say it frankly, in charge of closing a lot of healthcare facilities. Now he's reversed and he's gone the opposite way. But I do believe that capital investment is very necessary in our area and the whole of UK, because now we have hundreds, if not thousands, of GPs who are actually unemployed. And as you know, a GP can't sit under a tree in the park and start seeing patients. They need a building. I'm talking about GPs. The others, of course, are important, physios, nurses, and so on. The GP himself or herself cannot sit under a tree and start seeing patients. There are maybe 2,000 GPs unemployed now after, you know, so many things were closed. So that's one really important thing, capital investment in actual GP surgeries, whether within another building or whether separately. And I think this will solve a lot of problems. Now, when it comes to, you know, the government said get everybody in the community, it's not correct to put people who are quite ill into the community to be seen by the few numbers of GPs which are left. This is not a correct policy, because it might increase, I won't use technical terms, but it will increase ill health even among children. So all I say is capital investment and putting the unemployed GPs back into proper surgeries would be good. And another thing I'll say, a lot of the doctors, GPs, they want to leave England, they want to leave the UK. They get very good job offers, not just in Australia and Canada, but all over the world they get good offers, good life, and so on. Many of them don't go because the children are in school, and that is a big reason why they stay. So, you know, education is also important. Anyway, I won't give a lecture anymore.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your comments, actually. There's a lot of undoing to take place. I think probably lots to learn from Darzai over the next...
Lord R.R. Darzi, he went to Qatar when I was there. Okay. And he tried to privatize their health centre, and that was in the Labour days.
As you said, he's started to change his spots. Can you pass the microphone to Mr. Cooper? I think we'll take this last one, and then we'll move on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
Right. You mentioned dental services, and I'm going to mention audiology services too, because these have been subject of what we'll call contractual changes, undoubtedly for economic reasons. But the small statistics that we have in the family are such that it looks like they started well, but then have lapsed. So I'm asking if you will keep a careful eye on outsourcing, because it may well be that transferred NHS, direct NHS patients are getting second bidding. Secondly, to address the lady's point along here, you may be advised to change your doctor to get a better situation so that you can actually reach there with your car and your walking aid and leave the doctors that know you, if they're still there, who know all about you over many years. Not a good move, in my view. And lastly, the lady next to me is quite right. There are GP practices in the southern part of England that would love to have a newly qualified doctor, like my granddaughter-in-law. But they haven't got any money in their pockets because they've used them all up on the GPs that they've already got there, and they can't get any more money out of their trust. So she is thinking of having to move to the north or Scotland, where she will be paid for. Thank you for hearing me on those points.
Okay, thank you, John. Just on this, Martin, your slides, can you share them one way or another? And if you can share them with Bill Lee, and he'll put them on the website.
They've already been shared.
Okay, all right.
So
Right.
absolutely, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your interest, residents. There you go. Who's got the flowers? Yeah, okay. All right. Thanks. Good. All right. Let's. Who's going to take up the seat now? Can we have the transport people now on our Got another chair? Oh, sorry. Oh, please. There you go. There you go. All right. Thank you, Bill. So we've got Stavina Millership, Acting Director of Transport, Traffic, and we've got Finn Campbell, who's one of our public transport experts. So we're talking about today. We're talking about the transport review and the survey, aren't we? And consultation and other things transport. We've had quite a few questions on traffic and transport tonight. So we'll take those at this point. We'll let the people get on afterwards. Yeah, take it away.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a few slides to begin with, and then we'll go to questions. So, yeah, on the update. So, I'm going to start off. We've got a consultation open at this moment in time called Moving Forward with Our Transport Strategy, which seeks to understand your priorities going forward for the transport strategy for the borough. The transport strategy is a really key document. It sets out our ambition for transport in the borough, and it sets out the action that we can take and what we need partners such as TfL to take on our behalf within the borough. And it also sets out local priorities from residents and businesses such as yourselves. So why does the transport strategy require an update? The current transport strategy is about 5 years old. It was written pre-COVID, and it needs to be updated to affect the changing borough and the changes since COVID as well. We need to also update it in line with wider council policies, changes in public health, equalities and opportunity areas, and also climate emergency declaration. It's also a statutory duty. We have got to have one, so we need to update it. And it's linked to the funding that we receive from TfL to take forward measures within the borough as well. Sticking on funding, TfL are no longer the main only funder of transport. Our grant from TfL has decreased quite significantly as a result of the COVID pandemic primarily, and we've got to look at other opportunities as well for further funding and how we can invest in transport within the borough. And probably last but not least, and most importantly, it's about refreshing our own local knowledge as transport officers and understanding local community needs as well. So it's really a good opportunity to feed in the process and give us insight about what the needs are. So during this phase 1 consultation, we've got really 4 key question areas that we're looking for. It's to understand how people travel around the borough, maybe some of the barriers to that travel, what's good, well, maybe what's not working as well. What's important to how you travel around the borough? Is it cost? Is it journey time? Is it another factor? Is it maybe there's a nice walking route that you'd like to take? What you would like to see in the borough going forward? What would you like us to prioritise within the next transport strategy? And like I said, what already works and what could be better in the borough as well. So we've got initial consultation open at this moment in time. It has been open since the end of July. You might have already seen some communications in relation to this. We've got full details available on the talk.hounslow Let's Talk Hounslow webpage as well. It will be shutting this Sunday, that first phase of consultation. We're then going to use the feedback to update the sort of draft strategy we've been working on, ensure it reflects the feedback we've received, and then we will be coming out for a second round of consultation, hopefully in October, and running till December on a draft document where we'll be checking in to understand, have we got everything right? Are you happy with the draft strategy, or have we missed anything out as well? So yeah, please do participate. There is a short questionnaire Within there, it takes 5 minutes max and feed into the proposals. There's also a map as well to identify local issues, so we can pick that up and take that forward as well. In terms of the traffic update, there's 3 key areas to this. There's an update on the Isleworth Station forecourt consultation that ran until the end of July. The team are currently looking into this and analysing the feedback received. We had a really high number of consultation responses, and we're looking to provide an update by the end of this year on the next stages and the feedback that we've received. Moving on to Ivory Bridge School Street co-design. So this has been a project down on the Ivory Bridge estate, working in partnership with Ivory Bridge Primary School. We've done an extensive co-design project. For those that are not aware, it's now handed over to the engineering teams, and they're just finalising proposals and hope to consult again this side of Christmas to take that forward to implementation. And the last scheme to update on is an upcoming scheme as well, and we thought we would bring it along here tonight. It's in relation to Twickenham Road and St John's Road, bus stop and pedestrian accessibility improvements as well. My colleague Sept here has brought copies along the plan. This will be due to launch formally next week, and there will be communications sent out and letters distributed to promote. But that's looking at improvements along Twickenham Road and the St John's Road area as well. I think that's it in terms of presentation.
Okay, thank you, Finn. Councillors, any questions for Finn? Yes, Saya. Councillor Brazil.
Hi. So just for me, it's really to do about the consultation. How many people have actually done it so far?
So we've had a mixed response. We've got nearly 200 responses on the formal Let's Talk website. We've had over 150 paper copies returned to us. So we've been at community hubs throughout the whole of August, and we've been at every area forum in this batch as well. We've engaged within the quality teams and the partnership groups that they've been working with as well. So we've got a range of responses as well. I think in overall number, I would say easily 300 to 500 at this moment in time.
So can I just say something? Yeah. I'm not sure if we're clear, but the first stage of consultation was about asking questions about how you travel to inform the document that we're drafting, which is the transport strategy. And that's not going out to consultation until October. And that will be an opportunity to read the document and make comments with regards to the strategy itself. So it's a 2-stage consultation.
No, that's brilliant. So it's really the first stage. How many responses we've got? Yeah, okay, we'll get information for the second stage. But would you say you've got enough responses?
We're a borough of nearly 300,000 people, so never enough is what I would say. And I would encourage people to do participate. We purposely designed the questionnaire to be short and easy and quick to complete as well. And if there's any other channels we can engage through, please do get in touch.
Brilliant, thank you.
Any more? Let me. So this is the first stage. Second stage, you're looking at presenting in October, so later next month. Is that right? What kind of closing date will you have on the consultation then? Will that be taking you up to Christmas, or so? If that, sorry, so if so, So if so, can you bring that back to the next? Can it be brought back to the next next forum with something with a bit more meat on it and some ideas and particularly on how they might impact the 3 wards in our 3 wards in our forum, but also people do use Hounslow Town Centre, people do use Brentford Town Centre from here. So what does that mean? And people do travel, people do travel across by car or by bus, you know, across to Twickenham and Richmond and neighbouring town centres, Ealing. So if there'd be some stuff related to that, that would be good, whether it's road, public transport, yeah, pedestrian,
yeah,
cycling.
definitely. Yeah, we hope to launch the phase 2 consultation in October. There'll obviously be the draft transport strategy, and we'd be happy to present that at the next forum as well. The consultation, we're just finalising the details, but it will run until Christmas. I'm not sure of the exact date, but it will be after all the next round of area forums, and there will be more detail to run through and present.
Okay, thank you. Is that the sort of thing you'd like to bring it back to this forum? Okay, okay, good. Thank you. All right. What question? Do you have any questions on the presentations that we've so far? Lady up there with, is it a lady? Sorry, my eyesight. With the hand up, if you can take the mic to, thank you, Shiraz.
Thanks, I'm Fran, I live in Isleworth. So I had 2 questions, one on Isleworth Station and then one on the transport strategy. So on Isleworth Station, I think you mentioned it been sort of explored some of the ideas at the local area forums, but actually we were due to have it at the last one, which was then cancelled because of the election period. So in fact, I don't think it was brought to this forum as such. And then, I mean, there's probably mixed views on this, but I mean, I wasn't very keen on the mural, and I wondered how that had even come to be suggested, because to mix my transport metaphors, it's quite hard to turn a supertanker around, i.e. when you put something out for consultation. Sometimes it's quite hard to get that initial proposal changed. So I wondered what the genesis of that was. So that was on Isleworth Station. And then on the transport strategy, I mean, lots of people who live locally commute into central London for work. And I don't know if the transport strategy covers that. And linked to that, and I know I raised it with Tony before, about getting our MP to come along. Now she's chair of the Transport Select Committee, so she gets to hear local views. But it seems to me that currently the service isn't too bad, at least in the mornings for the school children, for the commuters. I commute in a couple of days a week. So I know our local MP is very keen on renationalising, but I just think, bear in mind not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. If we've got sort of a half-decent service, at least at some points of the day, for some journeys, we just want to bear that in mind, I think. And, you know, I agree, you know, people will go to Twickenham and Richmond and places, but also there's a sizable number of people that commute into central London, and the only feasible way of doing that is by train. So I think and I'd be interested if the councillors, what you would be saying to Ruth Cadbury, what you generally think about the commuter service and what you would be asking for in terms of the train service.
And on the local MP's new role in Parliament as the chair of the Transport Select Committee, it's a scrutinising function. It's them scrutinising. It's not them putting stuff forward for government policy. It's scrutinising government policy, and she probably have the ability to comment on that in any deliberations there. But having spoken to her when you did write that request, she will be having meetings locally, and these things it would be good to tie in with a local transport. With a local transport discussion during the consultation period, but you know, I don't know what you think of that.
Yeah, I was just going to say on the scrutiny point, that's true. But she obviously will be a very influential person, and it would be a missed opportunity to not give her an evidence base from the local constituency and local councillors as to what people want here, which then can feed into her thinking. Because otherwise there's a danger that she's so busy, she doesn't really know what local people want, and so she puts forward in all good faith what she thinks we want, but she's never actually heard us.
Fair enough. I mean, you know, for an MP that I've known lots of MPs over time, she's often about. She lives locally, but yeah, we will tell her what we think, and this strategy will help inform as well. And councillors, residents, commuters. We have a few seasoned commuters in this room right now who even meet her on the train going into town in the morning. So yeah, by all means, we can facilitate facilitate events anyway. That's okay. Any other questions for Finn, Davina?
Just on the mural.
Go on then.
Oh, the mural for Isleworth Station, how that idea would come about, and whether there's a chance of not having the mural. I mean, there might be other people like the idea of the mural, but personally, I didn't think it was a very good idea.
Okay, well, it's a mural that was featured as a design in the consultation. It's not nothing in that consultation is set in stone. So yeah, good question to ask, and Finn's here to answer it.
Yeah, so thank you for asking that question. Thank you, Chair. I think the idea was born out of feedback that the team had received in relation to the state of the wall where it was proposed, and it was seen as a response to as maybe one suggestion of how it could be improved. I think, as Councillor Lucky said, no decisions been made at this moment in time, and we are working through the consultation responses. I don't have the outputs of that yet, but we would hopefully have that for the next round, and we can share that as well. But yeah, no formal decisions been taken on that. Thank you, Chair. It's
not quite a mural, but if anyone goes down to Feltham Station, if everyone goes down to Feltham Station, you can see quite an interesting mural there. It's not really a mural; it's more a collection of people's photographs and images of Feltham on the flank wall going down the ramp to the station from the bridge there. For example, and we've got plenty of windows there. Got plenty of windows at Isleworth Station building. I think we counted 13 windows there. And about 8 or 9 years ago, we were talking about getting some art on those windows, changeable art on those windows, rather than just being painted grey and white. That's another suggestion. I mean, I did put in a comment on the station when this consultation came, and I think I had about 13 points there, even if one of them was accepted. Finn, yeah. Any more? Dominic West.
Thanks, Chair. Dominic West, St John's Residents Association. On the subject of the station, as a local group, we've been campaigning for improved facilities there for over 10 years. And it did result in the landscaped area being built at the end of St John's Road, which hasn't quite turned out as well as we'd expected, with the lot of tarmacked area there rather than sustainable urban drainage. And local residents have taken great efforts to actually plant and make use of the concrete tubs which were recently put there. So I think that was a welcome improvement. But I think, as others have said, we do want to see an improvement in the train service. The train service is now worse than it was 10 years ago. We had 4 trains an hour in 2012. We're now down to only 4 trains an hour in the peak. And the service is getting less and less reliable, getting more and more unreliable. The last few weeks we've had cancellations on a daily basis. This morning we had a fatality at Barnes. Unrelated to that, there's hardly anything running tonight because of a problem with a tree on the line at Egham. Egham's a long way from Isleworth, or Brentworth, a new name that I've heard tonight. And the whole railway collapses when something happens on the track. I don't think privatisation will be the answer, but that's another story. But anyway, it still means the profits go back into the system rather than into the pocket. Going back to the local improvements, and I did contribute to that. We hope that there is money available to actually make some physical improvements to the outside of the station. The main problems with the station tend to be antisocial behaviour. Isleworth, believe it or not, has the record for collecting most rubbish of any station on the South Western Railway network. Not something that we're particularly proud of, but there is a load of rubbish around the station, and it is collected on a daily basis. It's also collected by volunteers, some of which are probably in this room tonight. So I think the message is it's the local, it's the little stuff that matters. Hounslow is, I read one Hounslow. Well, can we get one Hounslow to work together? Community safety people, Hounslow Highways, planners, transport planners, everyone together to try and work together to try and get small-scale improvements to Isleworth Station forecourt and the building, which is what the local people want, which is what the area wants. It's not large-scale stuff, it's small-scale stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dominic. Anybody else? John Cooper.
Quickly, can I just say, please bear in mind that ease of car use is vital for the mental health of the very elderly and vulnerable, because it gets them outside their home. And I'm particularly pleased that you have opened the Inwood Road car park, I think you call it, for someone like me, because at last I can park there, if someone will tell me how I approach it, and walk and get to the high street by sitting on my rollator a few times, and that pleases me. So thank you very much.
Good one. Thank you. That it?
I had a question which I put in as a for the open forum, but it's transport related. Should I ask it now or wait?
I think you'd be the first one. You've jumped the gun, but that's all right. It saves me introducing it. So, yes, of course, Stephen.
I made an inquiry to council about charging electric vehicles from houses onto direct from house, but which has to go across the public pavement. And I was told that that wasn't possible, and if you got caught doing it, you incur a fine. And I asked why there wasn't a policy in place to put a cable. I presumed it was because it was a trip hazard, and I presume that putting a cable tidy, which prevented it being a trip hazard, would be an adequate solution. And when I put that forward to the officer, she couldn't tell me why the policy was in place. And I thought it put people off getting electric vehicles, which is sustainable. And if you can charge it from your home, it's considerably cheaper than diesel vehicles, and it's better for air pollution, etc., etc. And I wondered whether you would review the policy and see if you could have a way for people to charge from their homes across the pavement. And it's literally that little bit across the pavement in my case, and I'm sure in a lot of other people's cases, stopping that from happening.
Okay, thank you. Quick comment from any. Let's have the councillors first, and then we'll get the officers. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Stephen, for your question. So, I mean, in terms of the actual answer as to why it can't be done, I'm sure officers can answer that. In terms of reviewing the policy, that will be up to councillors and up to the Cabinet Member for Transport, which is Catherine Dunn. I would suggest if you want to begin a conversation around that, you might be advised to put a petition together, and we can look at it, and we can potentially review the policy, but without any promises, because obviously we would have to take into account various views around it, what other boroughs are doing, any health and safety regulations. But I'd be interested to hear the answer from officers, and then we can have a conversation about where you go from there.
John Trotter.
Yeah, it's a question I've asked on behalf of other residents. And it's when you stop and think about it. Imagine a long road, for example, Linkfield Road. If every single house on Linkfield Road had a cable going across it, with one of those, the road would eventually come impassable. The issue is now, if one person does it, that's fine. But it's when everyone does it, and you can't have a policy which doesn't take into account that every single person then has the right to do it. What you can do, you can ask for, provided the lamp standards are on the curb side, you can ask for charging points to be put into into lamp standards. And what's happening with those now, rather than being general parking bays, they are ring fenced for electric only. I do appreciate that it is more expensive to charge a vehicle through those, and it's overnight charging rather than quick charging that you can get from home. But the real answer is we simply can't have every street covered. And imagine the gentleman at the front row trying to get down a road with his stroller, which is covered in those, albeit it's not a trip hazard anymore, or someone with a pram. It's simply not tenable, was the answer that I took back when I asked that.
Okay. Yes, please. Thank you, Davina.
I've worked for, I'm an interim at the moment. I've worked for a number of different authorities and a number of... We can't say. Just... So, and I've worked for a number of different authorities, and a number of, I think it was you that mentioned Milton Keynes, for instance, who were doing some trials where they're actually opening up the highway and actually putting a cable, what we call a cable tray. So you can actually put the cable so it's flush with the pavement. Sorry, just going back to what the councillors have said, they're absolutely right. If you put those cable covers, you end up with a bump. And if everyone does that, you can imagine how difficult that would be to navigate as a pedestrian or someone with a pram or with a mobility device. So the other option is to look at these cable trays where you have, you actually, like I said, excavate the pavement and you actually have a cover. And like I said, a number of authorities are looking at that. So obviously EV charging is we're rolling that out nationally. But the highway is a regulated space. The highway authority, or the council in this case, is responsible for accidents and trip hazards, so which is why we have a very clear inspection regime. So every time there's a pothole, I know people might disagree, but we inspect them, we repair them, and we are responsible if there are accidents. If you open up the highway and you put those trays in, there is a question about who will inspect them, so there's a cost, and who will maintain them and who's responsible for them. Now, Oxfordshire, for instance, are doing trials on that. They're looking into the costs, but that needs to be understood fully. Now, the government have said that they will look at what all the different authorities are doing in terms of trials, and in the next few months we'll issue a document and guidance on that for authorities to assist us in how to navigate that. So hopefully we'll be in a better place once that guidance comes out, and that guidance will be available to all the authorities.
Salman.
Thank you very much, Davina. That's a very helpful answer, actually. And I just to cap off, I mean, in terms of policy objectives, it is worth reiterating that our policy objective is to encourage people into sustainable modes of transport, which include electric vehicles. So we actively want to help people charge their cars. So if there's a way we can help that, if we can look into these new solutions, perhaps there is a potential there. I'd be interested to hear the answer myself.
Can I just add to that? With regards to the rollout of EV charging, we have got funding to roll out 2,000 points, and we're going through a procurement exercise where we're going to suppliers to tender for these charging points, like Councillor has said, with regards to rapid charging points, fast charging points, but also overnight charging points that can be carried out from lamp columns. So there will be more charging points available to people who don't possibly have a driveway where they can park their vehicle and actually charge off their own property. But certainly there will be more available charging. And back to the point that you made, it won't be as cheap as if you had a charging point on your own property. But if you charge overnight on one of these lamp column charging points that are curbside, it will be cheaper. And by going through a competitive process of tendering, we will be seeking to reduce the charges as far as possible, but it will never be as cheap as if you were to have a point on your own property, because these operators have to actually pay for the infrastructure, they have to maintain it, they have to do the innovation, etc.
Yeah, Councillor Sayer, yeah.
Hi, thank you for that answer there. But can I just ask one thing? So with the 2,000 charging points, is there a delay of procurement, or why is there a delay?
We were given a little bit of a bum steer initially with the route that we could use, given the legislation. It happens quite often. There's some legislation that hadn't been taken into account. One of the authorities had challenged it, and so to ensure that we didn't get a legal challenge on it, we had to look for another route. We've had legal advice on it, and we've had to restart that. So there has been a slight delay, but those tenders are out for the fast and rapid chargers. The lamp column charging points, that's yet to go out, but we will be looking at more than one operator to add that competitive edge and to try and minimise the cost as far as possible.
Yeah, thank you. We'll come back to we haven't got any more. Well, we have got a couple of transport questions actually. Can I just whiz through some of these questions from Osterley White Green Residents Association regarding the reinstatement of speed humps on the zebra crossing at Wood Lane by the Osterley Hotel. The painting of addressing the infringements of on the red route, the missing red lines on the red route between from the Great West Road to Wood Lane, and speed measurement on St Mary's Crescent, Osterley, from Ridgeway Road north to Thornbury Road. Does that cover it? Sort of, yeah. So if you've had some advance notice of this.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I don't think I have it in the same order that you shared it. So apologies if this doesn't go straight forward. So in relation to the traffic enforcement CCTV camera on Wood Lane, this has not gone back up yet. But it has been added to the list for reinforcement and the camera to be reinstalled. Relocation of the camera has been necessary to enable continued enforcement, so the team are looking into it. The camera is looking to be reinstalled, and yeah, they're on with that process.
Sorry, yeah, all right. I was going to ask, as Board Councillor, you got timescale for that, please?
Unfortunately not, but we can take away tonight, and
okay.
I'll get a timescale on that one as well. With regards to the missing red lines on Wood Lane, this is with TfL, and we have requested, as officers, a response on the matter with them, and we'll continue to chase them for delivery.
They said we could have it. They said they'd give us the road.
Yeah,
and responsibility. Well, okay,
I've literally just been given a sentence.
Let's pick that up.
They did, but they haven't progressed it.
Yeah, cheeky monkeys. All right, we'll deal with that. Yeah.
And then with regards to the speed monitoring on St Mary's Crescent, update as follows from colleagues. There isn't any recent survey data available. The collision record for the road shows 2 seriously injured casualties, both on the same night. And it's noted that a single incident doesn't indicate a trend, but given that it's only one moving vehicle colliding with parked vehicles, it does indicate a loss of control, due to excess speeds. If there has been other collisions, it is possible that there was no reported injuries. For similar reasons to the above, it would be difficult to make the case for physical traffic calming, but to update the information available, our speed survey is recommended. So that will be actioned by the team.
There will be a speed survey on St Mary's Crescent. Thank you very much. You all right? Barbara? We forgot to ask about the elusive Nishcam travel plan.
I have got an update on that. So officers have recently met with the principal of Nishcam School, who is updating the action list, and then will then submit the travel plan to the council. So my colleague Rob has met the principal, and yeah, we're due to receive it shortly.
When?
I understand he met with the principal last week. I don't have that answer in front of me. I'm afraid I'll have to take that away. Yeah, of course.
Okay, there's another. So Barbara, go on then.
Sorry, so I submitted these questions on behalf of Osterley and White Green Residents Association. There've been many issues relating to transport that we communicate with transport officers about. We have to wait ages for responses, and it is extremely frustrating. Something happens and then we're told we will be informed. We're not informed. We have to email. We wait for responses. Since Mark Frost left, the service has declined drastically, and we really would like to see an improvement. It's extremely frustrating for local people. These are things that affect us on a day-to-day basis. And those double red lines that are missing between the entrance to the Osterley Park Hotel on Wood Lane and the A4, that was agreed at our first meeting about the A4 with TfL and Hounslow Council back in February last year. There have been cars parked there that I've been reporting. The council comes down, they say they can't issue a ticket because it's not their responsibility. And they're parked dangerously. So can we have fast responses? Can things start to happen? Please.
That would be good.
Yeah, can I start with if it's in TfL's responsibility, we can continually ask them to do it, and we will chase them, but it's a different authority. It's not something that we failed to do. With regards to responding to correspondence, I know it's frustrating and I apologise for that. I've been in post for 3 weeks. The thing about traffic transportation professionals is there is a skill shortage. We have trouble recruiting. In some of my groups, I've got more than 50% vacancies. It's difficult, and I know that the officers are working as hard as they can. Like I said, I apologise for that. We will do as much as we can with the resources that we have. But hand on heart, we are stretched. We have been very successful at a recent recruitment drive, but they're entry-level officers, which means that they're officers that have got qualifications but not necessarily experience. So we now have to train them up. And I don't know if you're aware, but even when it comes to recruitment, engineers like myself actually does the recruitment. We do the interviewing. That means that's taking up my officers away from doing their day jobs to do other jobs, because that's just the way it is at the moment.
Okay, we will no doubt next forum we'll get the similar question. And did you? Right. And did we have any more transport questions today? So there was a question. Is Grace?
I'm raising a question about the islands that are scheduled to be built along the 316, no, not the 316, the main road from Brentford to Hounslow, the traffic islands, where you have people stepping off buses and they have about a foot of space before the cyclists appear.
Floating bus stops?
Yes, floating bus stops. How do we make sure they are safe? They appear to be a massive danger at the present moment.
Thank you.
I can't maybe give you a full answer on that, but this isn't an issue unique to Hounslow, and TfL have acknowledged that, and TfL have been doing some work in this space, reviewing the design, which we are monitoring at this moment in time. And we are working with them, and we can share sort of the outputs of that work with yourselves and with forum members.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, I actually discussed this on Tuesday night with TfL officers, and the officer's absolutely right. It's not limited to Hounslow, but the issue that the TfL report, that whilst people feel unsafe on them, the number of collisions is minuscule. They aren't actually dangerous. The data they're getting is that now a lot of people report near misses, but there are reports of near misses, but these reports are not given to TfL. And if there are any actual impacts, they're once again not given to TfL or reported to the police. So what TfL say is that whilst people may not like them, they are not materially dangerous, or their data suggests to them they're not materially dangerous. You may disagree, madam, but if you feel you're having near misses, or you're going to have to report it, otherwise TfL will not have the data on which to base changes to them. That's the issue at the moment. So until TfL get the data, they will continue with the floating bus stops at the moment. That's their current policy. I'm not suggesting Hounslow supports that either way, but I'm just telling you what TfL told me on Tuesday night.
Councillor Shaheen.
Thanks, John. Do we have the data? Do we have the numbers that they've reported, or do we have it in numbers of near misses that we know of, or numbers of actual collisions that we know of? Have you got any statistics to hand, or do you remember anything from the presentation?
Yeah, it was a conversation I had with them.
Okay. Do you have any figures?
Not to hand, but we can take that away and get the data for the borough, what we have, and then for what TfL have recorded as part of the study.
Okay, thank you. Lady at the back again.
Just one quick follow-up. On Sunday morning, after the Laura Kunzberg show, there's a sort of London politics show, and there was a discussion of floating bus stops there, and there seemed to be some report being discussed saying they had found that the floating bus stops weren't particularly safe. And there's definitely one that I've seen, I mean, say about collecting the evidence, but just with your own eyes, near the water museum, Steam Water Museum in Brentford, on the opposite side, on the left-hand side, there's one that's super dangerous, which I would never even attempt to cross. And talk about the near misses. I mean, sometimes you just think, well, the bikes aren't going to stop, so you don't cross when you should be crossing. And that's what's one of the reasons that you don't have so many accidents, that you just don't cross the road. You just wait until there's absolutely no bike in sight because you can't trust them to stop.
Understood. Stand at Victoria Embankment, trying to cross over to Embankment Station, but that's very busy. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions to our transport officers before I let them go? Before we let them go. Yeah. So Dominic, quickly. Thanks.
I thought someone else was going to raise it, but as they haven't, I'll raise it. It was really in connection with the with planned roadworks and the impact they have on the local network. We had Thames Water doing some works on St John's Road last week, planned works that had been agreed months in advance. The council didn't put any diversions in place and didn't open any of the closed roads. As a result, after about the second day, I asked immediately for something to be done. To be fair to the council, the one-way system down Linkfield Road, a road that Councillor John Trow Turp knows very well, was a one-way system was introduced without a traffic order. It wasn't adhered to. It actually made the situation worse. The one-way system was introduced on the Friday in the middle of the afternoon school peak to add to the confusion of the parents and carers picking up their children from school, and then an hour later the one-way system was reversed to add to even further confusion. Then we had a weekend of complete and total utter chaos. I mean, I don't tweet and I don't, whatever, but apparently the Twitter feeds were exploding. There were comments all over the place. I think lessons have been learned, and I think local councillors were also of that view, and that was communicated to us. And thank you for your support and your comments. But I think the message has got to go back to officers. When there is a planned diversion, there have got to be alternative proposals in place. If there are roads that are closed, if there are filters, they need to be opened up. Twickenham Road is already, at a snail's pace at the best of times. We can't allow the traffic to completely come to a complete halt. It's affecting the borough. It's affecting the status of the borough, what people feel about the borough. My plea is, if planned works do happen again, and they will, please ensure that you take proper mitigatory measures to ensure that people can get around and that the traffic can flow.
Can I let Councillor Salmon first, and then if you respond to that, officers? Thanks.
Thank you, Dominic. Yeah, it wasn't just the Twitter feed that was exploding. My inbox was exploding too, as was Councillor Stroud Turp. So we get it, completely get it. I mean, what I would say that officers did very well at was expediting the works. So officers reacted very quickly to that situation, got on to Thames Water and said, look, can you sort this out faster? So as a result, I think the works were actually completed several days ahead of where they're meant to be. But I do agree with you that the plans in place obviously weren't fully effective. They weren't effective because otherwise you wouldn't have had that chaos. So I agree, learnings have to be made.
Yep, if you like, yeah.
I'm new to Hounslow. I've been in place for a couple of weeks. When and I returned from leave to find the explosion of emails on this. I looked into it, and I have to say that it's not Thames Water. It wasn't Thames Water's fault. You know, we've got to put our hands up. We did ask them, as part of the process, if a utility wants to do some work, close a road or dig up the highway, they're entitled to do that, but they have to do it with our agreement with regards to how they manage the traffic. We failed to look at all the implications of how the traffic would move around, although we diverted the traffic on the main roads, we didn't look at the local traffic implications, and we didn't take into account the school street and how people would be affected, and that was our error. To be fair, like the councillor said, we did try and address it, probably not effectively. I have asked that in future any local diversions are taken into account, especially where there are school streets and LTNs, because they have an added complexity. The traffic order, to be fair, Thames Water did put the signage in place as they were asked to do. And then what we should have done was we should have looked at the impact, and we should have moved a bit quicker. So all I can say is we didn't do a good job. In future, we need to map out those implications and make sure we look at the local diversions. So I accept that.
And so briefly, we were kind of slowing down now.
Just very quickly on that. Is it possible to inform councillors as well? So particularly on St John's Road, for example, us in Spring Grove and Isleworth councillors would be able to input into any of those measures you're looking at.
Let's talk afterwards. Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. Sometimes utility companies do it off their own bat without any warning or without any permission. Spent a lot of hours trying to deal with the Osterley Road compound for Cadent compound this week. It's a waste of my time, really. Well, it's meant, what, completely? It's not moved yet? It's not moved yet? Okay, all right, okay, all right. Okay. Go on, Hilary. Go on.
I've just come from near there, and the bulk of it has been moved, but there are still some there. But the structures that were there in the huts, they have gone.
That's good. Yeah.
Many thanks indeed.
No, thank you. It's just piecemeal. Because they need 10 days to get parking-based suspension, and I did request that from parking as well, to speed it up a bit. But yeah, thanks for the update, Hilary. Thank you very much. Right, can we leave it there, because we're running a little bit slow, and just wanted Mamta and Elliot to talk about community hubs very briefly. Proposal for 2 community hubs will come to the area. We've already got one in Brentford, but Osterley Library and at Isleworth Library. If you thank you. Sorry, I should have said thank you very much. Oh, you got one more, have you? What? I thought you wanted to go home. Yeah, go on.
With regards to the local proposals for bus stop changes and pedestrian accessibility, we've got some early drafts of some consultations if anyone wants to have a look at them. The consultation date is from next Monday to the end of to early November, but there's some drafts here if anyone would like to have a look at them.
Would you share them with the ward councillors, please, and with Bill too?
They've already been shared.
So, have they? All right, I haven't seen them, but it doesn't matter. Don't look at everything. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Finn. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Davina. Thanks for coming. So now we've got this brief introduction on of community hubs, requested by a couple of members of the public, and that's why we've got it here tonight. But yeah, speed through it if you like. Yeah.
Yep, we will do. Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the invitation this evening. So just by way of introduction, my name's Elliot Brooks, the Director of Communities at the Council, and I'm joined tonight by...
Hi everyone, I'm Mamta Khanna. I'm the Stakeholder Relationships Manager in the Communities Division.
Right, okay. So we are going to talk you through quickly, as the Chair has mentioned, on the Council's plans for community hubs across the borough. So just we've got some slides to go through, but just really something I want to sort of say at the beginning, which is just to keep in mind through the whole of the presentation, is just three sort of underlying principles about the work on community hubs, is very much around local support and guidance for people in and around where they live. The community hubs really should reflect the place they're in. So we don't think every community hub should be the same. There should be a core offer, but it should reflect the community and the need and what the insight tells us about that place. And then the third is around using the council's existing community assets much better. So this isn't around the council building new shiny community hubs. This really is about reactivating some of the spaces and using some of those community venues that are really well trusted, such as libraries, like the chair has mentioned, in a far better way. So, you know, what do we mean by community hubs? So community hubs in sort of simple language really are around drop-in places for information, guidance, support from a wide range of both council services, but more importantly, and equally sort of reflective of the place, is around the active voluntary and community sectors in that place and key partners. There's no referral needed. You don't need appointments to go to our community hubs. However, it is the sort of situation whereby you could make an appointment to see your housing officer, example, at the local community hub. But it isn't something that you would need in terms of an appointment to call in at our hubs. Some of the hubs have activities such as, sort of English language, digital support, what's called knit and natter. Mamta's going to go into a bit more detail about where our hubs are currently active and what's going on, but trying to give that sort of broad outline. So we want to make it much easier for residents to access services that are important to them closer to home. A cornerstone of our community hub offer will be the libraries, because the early consultation that we've done really does tell us that they are trusted venues in the community. But also community centres, also leisure centres, also different community spaces that people know in and around, for example, their housing estates. Could be community halls that are either very seldom used or not used as well as they could be. So it's not just about, I can't reiterate it, it's not just about council services. Like I say, there will be core offers around community solutions, health outreach, housing, and our Safer Communities team. Representatives of those services have been here tonight in the market stall. Local organisations, NHS, Martin mentioned earlier, around social prescribers. Mamta and her team are very well linked in with those, and they're active at our community hubs at the moment. Housing partners, so, I know from dealing as Councillor Lucky we've had in the past that, we're not the only social landlord in the borough. The housing associations manage thousands of properties in our borough, some better than others, it might be said, and some of the relationships are stronger than others. But fair play to them at the moment. They're engaging with this. They're turning up to some of our community hubs, having market stall events and starting to engage both with the council, but also, more importantly, residents now. And then, as I've mentioned, around voluntary sector partners, so Citizens Advice, key partners of our community hubs, RNIB, the Mulberry Centre that many of you know, and Crosslight, a really strong charity in the borough dealing with debt advice. I'm going to hand over to Mamta now to give you some specifics around places.
So, in essence, we have a 5-day offer across the borough. How it looks is that we are currently in Hounslow, Feltham, Cranford, and Brentford. It is an approach that we've taken in every area that is slightly different, but the core sort of principles that sit behind this is that we engage with residents in that area. We talk to ward members before we go into the area. We sometimes do ward walks, walk around in the area, identify locations, ease of access, sort of examine what is available in the area, map out what voluntary sector organizations are already doing. So we work very closely with key partners in that area to really understand what are the needs in that area, where do people need support, what is a meaningful way for us to bring the support. Like, for example, it's one thing to say we'll run, say, a group session on, say, a health topic, but is that something that is of interest to people? Will that draw people in? So really understanding how people receive information, access support. So we do a lot of analysis before we go into an area and talk to people like yourselves, like the councillors, to really understand what's the best way to approach it. We start off then by piloting. So for example, in Feltham, We started in June in Feltham Assembly Hall. As Elliot said, it was an underutilized hall, so we've taken it over for one afternoon on a Tuesday, and we tested the model for about 4 months. What works, what doesn't work. What we realized very quickly is that people wanted activities because there is support there. There's information around benefits and advice, housing services, but there was a little bit of people saying to us in those early days that we don't feel like coming in because it doesn't feel like a friendly place. So we started to deliver activities in partnership with the voluntary sector partners. So there's like knitting sessions or repair shop kind of activities. The transport folks, our colleagues have their cycling hub there as well. So we've tried to make it almost like a one-stop shop approach in that space because that's what people in that area told us. So each of these kind of hubs that you see on the list here are very different. So you walk into any of these spaces, they feel different because that's what people in that area have told us. So the closest hub to you would be Brentford Library and possibly Hounslow House. But Brentford Library has parking. I'm just conscious that sometimes you need that space to park up as close as possible. So that's, I mean, I've just literally said similar things, but we aim to start a conversation here with residents in this area early next year. We'll work closely with our councillors and with you as residents to find what is it that you think would be helpful. So for us, it's really helpful to find out, for example, so almost like where do you get your support from currently, what currently exists in the area, what sort of days and times are best for people, what types of needs might be needed, for example. So each hub, almost we kind of deliver different types of support in different hubs. So for example, what we deliver in Brentford is slightly different from what we deliver in Feltham. There's more adult education kind of skills-based support in Feltham, for example, because there's space, but also people coming through the door have told us that we want to learn more English, for example. We want to learn about digital access. In Brentford, what we've learned from residents who've come in and said, we don't actually want to come in and get support straight away, but we might need it someday, but please can we have some activities for our families? So we started to do work with our adult education team to do some activities that are for families as well. So every hub, as I said, is different. So we'll ask you when we come through, what's important to you? What is your priority? So we aim to pilot some activity here around community hubs in spring. And we're also very conscious that Isleworth, Osterley, and Hounslow South, there's a lot of voluntary sector and community-based efforts already in place. So we would come and talk to you as partners to understand what your knowledge, what your insight is of the area, and sort of not want to duplicate what you're doing, but sort of raise the profile of what you're doing so that there might be people who wouldn't normally access your services, but they will, through our joint efforts, find a way to come to you as well as get support from the council and other partners. I think that's about it, really. Yep. Thank you so much.
Lovely, thank you. And any questions to Elliot or Mamta on this? Oh, sorry, I should have asked councillors first. I'm losing myself. It's Twilight. Go on then.
Just a very, very quick one. So we've got a few hubs there, and thank you for sharing that slide. Just for the future, are we looking to expand some of those community hubs?
The quick answer to that is yes. So we've started, like I say, each of them sort of half-day sessions, but if you use as an example Hounslow House, the vision for the ground floor at Hounslow House is that will be a full-time community hub. But then other locations doesn't need the full-time approach. So it is very much about what's suitable for that hub. Not all of them need to be 7 days a week, all singing, all dancing hubs. Some of them are very much drop-ins 2 or 3 times a week. So we will sort of deal with each on an individual basis. But yes is the answer, that the ones that we've currently got active will grow.
Thank you. Yeah? Members of the audience? Good. Okay, Hilary.
I speak as somebody who has used one of these hubs, the Bridgelink Centre, and I really am very impressed by the services that we're offered there. It's 2 hours on Wednesday morning, every fortnight. And I've also been impressed by the fact that the people who are working there, it's the one I go to is for help on technical problems to do with computers and so on. But the volunteers who are there are from Skye. Being one of our local industries, I think it's an excellent link, and certainly as a user of the service there in that particular area, been very welcome, and certainly I've been very, very pleased by it and very helpful. So thank you very much.
Lovely, yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Look, thank you both. Sorry to have kept you waiting. I know the agenda should never be that fluid, but we've made it this far. Thanks. Safe journey home. Right, open forum time. Any questions? Any questions that haven't been answered? I know some people have submitted. I know Vanessa, you put a question in on the consultation process. We've got a written response for you, but we agreed that at the next area forum we'll have an officer here to present. Is that okay then? Okay, lovely, thank you. Anybody here that submitted a question? Sorry, Vanessa, hang on.
In advance of the meeting, please.
We'll do, as I said, it'll be somebody senior, but we'll do, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
As early as possible. All right. Anybody here who's submitted questions earlier and want to reply? Good, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Just my question is about the bowling space next to Osterley Library. And
Yeah.
I noticed that you had a poster up at some point, and unfortunately we were away when the meeting happened, so I'm curious to know what happened and what are the proposals for that space.
You, Miss Andrews?
Yes.
Yeah. We had a meeting, ward councillors arranged a meeting because there was conversations going on locally following the squatting of the old building there, and the property people at the council did secure it. The building of the Bowls Club site is one of the features in the council's community asset review, which and it'll be considered next year. But what councillors learnt there that day, we met on the 5th of August. What we learnt down there that day, along with residents from Mr. Peter O'Brien, who's director of community assets, we're reviewing 500 pieces of land and spaces, including libraries and similar, down over the next couple of years, to look at are they adequate for use? Are we going to continue using them? How can they possibly be repurposed? Where do you live where do you live?
Just near the level crossing.
Right, on Wood Lane.
Yeah, well, near Wood Lane.
Yeah. If you've been down there recently, you see we've cleared it up.
I saw.
It's been very, very well tidied, and fly tip has been taken away. Detritus from the squatters has been taken away. Hedges have been cut. We'll keep an eye on it, but as best we can, it's people are keeping an eye on it. We don't know what's going to happen yet after the review. After the review, but we're going to review it, and people will be involved in the review. Residents will be involved. People and the library is a good spot to do that, but to do it from. But we had 50 residents, which is not bad. 50 residents, 3 councillors, 2 council officers came to Thistleworth Tennis Club for the meeting. Is that okay? But do drop us a line. Do drop us a line if you need to. You're one of our constituents, Osterley Spring Grove Ward, so by all means. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? People have submitted questions. Go on then. You are? I've got your list here, Patrina Russell. Yeah. It's a long old list. Go on. Pick one or two, and we'll get some replies for you at some point.
One I can remember. It's about the Waterman's Art Centre. We don't have an art centre in the borough anymore, as far as I know. And the Waterman's Art Centre was brilliant, and it was right on the river for all the local people. And my question is it going to end up being like the Richmond ice rink fiasco all over again? It closed down, and we have to wait for 32 years, and we're still waiting for an ice rink. Well, you know, when do we get our art centre back with cinema, theatre?
Okay. We've got one of the cabinet members at the table here today is Councillor Salman Shaheen from Isleworth, who knows a lot more about this than I do. So you okay there, Salman?
I am indeed.
Right.
So a very brief history of the site is that the Waterman's Art Centre was always intended to move to the police station site. It was intended that a new art centre would be built at the site of the old police station in Brentford, and the old art centre would close. And the reason for that is multifaceted, but partly to do with the age of the building, partly to do with the facilities, and that Hounslow Arts Trust, who are running Waterman's Art Centre, actively wanted to move to the police station site. Unfortunately, the way the circumstances evolved since the economic crises we've faced, and since developers slowing down and pulling out of various different developments, meant that and Hounslow Arts Trust decided it was going to pull out early from Waterman's Art Centre before a new art centre was built on the police station site. So the timings no longer aligned, and that meant that Waterman's Art Centre closed. But, and this is a very big but, it is my absolute #1 priority to found a new art centre in Brentford, and that will be in the police station site. That's where the new art centre will be. Even though the original developer had pulled out of that site, we are in active conversations to bring in new developers to develop the police station site and build a new art centre. That is a guarantee that we are going to do that. That's our absolute #1 priority, to re-provide an art centre in Brentford, and I would see that as being hopefully an even better art centre than we had before. It won't be. You won't be waiting 32 years, and I would hope in the next few months you'll have some more update on that.
Okay. Thanks. Any more questions whilst we're here? The questions you submitted, yeah, right. Remind us, Barbara, please. I've got some. Let me answer your one on the Osterley Spring Grove walkabout, where the councillors did invite the various residents groups to come with us. I know it was at short notice. We reorganised it after the. We're going to have it before the general election. We reorganised it after. Look, it's my fault. It's my fault. I've got some draft notes turned up last week on following the walk, and I've got to go through them because I needed to give it a local flavour. So, but they will be out next week. I apologise for that. Anything else on your that bloody hotel? Right.
So sorry, if I can. The question relates to the Osterley Park Hotel. One of the worst things that's been happening in the last 5 years is overfull bins, and we've recently had rats running around, flies, birds pecking at them, and we keep reporting it. I know the council finds the hotel, but it just keeps continuing. Now, after I understand that you asked for a meeting, I then went on holiday. I don't know whether a meeting has taken place outside the hotel. We need some action. I mean, this cannot go on.
Okay, we've got. So I've got a response to your. I've got a response to your query. We've had a few calls to the Osterley Park Hotel back in July regarding the state of the bins, and our team had a word with the management, and collection days were increased from 2 to 3 times a week, which stopped the bins from overflowing. We have not had recent complaints about the state of the bins. Please note the pictures taken by our team this afternoon, and the lids are in place on the bins, and they were in the bin enclosure. That said, we will be conducting routine patrols to ensure good practice is in place by the management so that the local residents and passers-by are not affected by any foul smells. Aftab, did you arrange a meeting, or what's going on there?
Thank you very much.
From your perspective, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. And Barbara, I think this has been going on for some time. Various different emails, I don't know, probably 50 or so numbers of emails have crossed basically between me, you, and the officers. I think the crust of the matter is that the management at the hotel is failing to put a planning application where it could be fully covered and then would stop the smell and the other stuff which is causing trouble to all the neighbors who live in front area of the where the bins are. So this is where the held-up is at the moment. And I will sort of, in regards to the having a site visit, meeting was to be organized, but there was a site visit done, which Tony has just mentioned. But we would aim to have a site meeting probably in next couple of days to organize that. But
yes,
the
please.
issue only gets resolved if they put a planning application. We have tried, we've asked them, but they are not forthcoming. So it this is like a delaying techniques from one party. We'll continue to push that, and probably that meeting may further help us do that.
So we need planning enforcement involved proactively, because they're just delaying all the time, and the hotel make promises. We know that they lie, and we continue to suffer. So yes, please. And so I take photographs regularly. Who should I be sending them to?
Yeah,
I mean,
please.
I included them in the questions just to show you how disgusting they are, these bins. Who should I be sending them to?
Yeah, please feel free to send it to me, and I will sort of, make another observation on that and submit it to the officers. Myself, I've taken many times photos, and you're part of that you've seen my photos also going in. It's probably one of the bins which have been photographed most, basically, in the UK.
If we can have a meeting, if we can have the head of planning, because the extension of the kitchen, that floor is still there. That should have been removed in April. It's now September. Nothing has happened.
I think, there are various different issues with that establishment. Fully acknowledge, and apologies, for the residents to go through this. We are trying our level best, and hopefully that meeting will help, and we'll try to get a planning application, getting out of that management.
Okay, my other question was about the planning portal.
Is
there an answer to the question?
There is. Thank you for your question and feedback regarding the new grant. No, sorry, wrong one. Where is it? It's over the page, sorry.
In italics.
It has been a significant undertaking to move from the old planning and building control IT system to the new one. Overall, the transition has been successful. We went live in May 2024 and thank residents for all the feedback and comments received prior to and after going live. This feedback is invaluable and assists us with continuing to improve and enhance the system. The focus since May 2024 has been on ensuring that the system is working and on fixing some of the initial teething problems. It has always been expected that there would be some initial teething problems as the system beds down. We are now moving out of that initial post-go-live stage and will be organising another session with residents associations to assist with use of the system and taking feedback. We're also looking at what other resources we can provide to help users get the best out of the system, and are also working with our supplier to progress an ongoing programme of enhancements to the system. Vincent Lacavara, Director of Planning and Building.
Okay, so the only thing that was missing there was when this meeting will take place, because we were promised that it would be in the summer. We're now at the end of September.
Bill, can you
and if I can ask all councillors, please, to support us in our request that comments on planning applications are publicised on the Hounslow website. Now, when we had the meeting at the end of April, when they were talking about the new planning portal, it was dismissed as saying, no, that's something we can't do. Well, a 5-minute discussion at that meeting was insufficient to consider and discuss all of the implications of a very important aspect of planning applications and responses to consultations, which other boroughs, as you all know, do. So we would look for your support in asking for this, which was just dismissed by planning.
Okay, I've always supported that response, and you know, there's ways of redacting people's names and locations. You know, you have my support on that. I have had it for the last 10 years, but even with the old rubbish system, right? But you will pass that on to on the meeting date, please, Bill. If you can take that from me. Anything else? All right, sir. Briefly, even though you don't live in our area. Come.
Okay, thank you. So just following on from our brief discussion downstairs regarding the 56 flats on HCC at the back, we did meet Tom Bruce, and he did assure us that he was going to come back to suggest alternative venues and locations. We've still yet to hear back from him. It's been 2 weeks. We know that there is a meeting on the 3rd of October with the planning committee, and hopefully it will be raised with the councillors as well. We, as a community, and as well as the Rotary Club, we've got a counselling service which is also running on in from the club itself, Hounslow Conservative Club. We're deeply disappointed and upset with the fact that we are going to be disturbed with this new development. We hope that the councillors will, first of all, be our voice and support us. We've got a petition in the council as well. We're hoping to hear back from that, what sort of response there's going to be.
Okay, we don't really look at the planning applications here. What you did have a meeting with Councillor Tom Bruce, Deputy Leader and Lead on Development. If he hasn't got back to you yet, we will chase that and get him to get back to you. But with regards to planning, we will discuss the planning application on the 3rd of October. We don't discuss it here, but thank you. We'll pass that on if you can get that off to him tomorrow. Thank you, Bill, if that's okay. Any more open? Briefly, Mrs. Russell, thanks. Yeah, go on then. Wait for the mic.
Mother Nature loves biodiversity, and I notice that the Hounslow borough, particularly in Hounslow itself, is not terribly biodiverse when it comes to greenery. There's not much in the way of trees, shrubs. It's not very inviting place to be. Is there anything in place to bring Mother Nature into the Hounslow borough a little bit more so it feels more welcoming and better for mental health, physical health? Please.
Okay, Councillor Shaheen, who's very green.
Thank you for your question. I mean, I would disagree that Hounslow is not very green. We've been surveying our green space to try and work out how much we've got, and it's currently coming out at 43% of the borough is covered in green space. We are actively, however, to answer your question, looking to transform that and build out a borough that's 45% green. In the last 2 years, we've planted 20,000 trees. Our goal was to plant 20,000 trees over the course of 4 years. We managed it in 2, so we're going to continue to plant. We've also launched a new Nature Recovery Action Plan, which is deliberately designed to increase the biodiversity, including flora and fauna. And we've also launched a policy that we call Grow for the Future, which is taking wasteland, fly-tip, fenced-off, unused wasteland, and turning it into orchards, community gardens and allotments, and then pairing them with local schools so kids can actually get down and then grow food and be amongst nature. We launched the first 2 sites of those over the summer. One was just a patch of scrubby grassland with basically no biodiversity. It's just a bit of fairly rubbishy grass. It's now got a wildflower meadow. It's got pear trees, apple trees, raspberry and blackberry bushes, and sunflowers planted by the local kids. It's a proof of concept. It worked out very well. So we're going to be expanding that policy and rolling out across the borough. So I would say actually we do have a lot of green space, and we have, and also you've got to look at places like not just our formal parks, but some of our more wild spaces like Pevensey Road Nature Reserve, for example, which has just won a green flag, and and we've also, and I can see some of the friends over here, Northcote Nature Reserve, which has just been launched in Isleworth, thanks to a long campaign by the friends to bring that into fruition. Again, another patch of scrubby grass that's now a biodiversity haven. So there's a lot going on, and I want to do more of it.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Sorry, I forgot about you. How could I? What's your question? Briefly, your question, and I'll redo the response.
Right. Almost exactly 1 year ago, I spoke at a forum here requesting the appointment of a cabinet-level councillor to be the champion for the borough's older residents. The role was to be the early notification and discussion of changes by the London Borough of Hounslow Council which might disadvantage the elderly and vulnerable and thus require modification before being set in law and regulation which could penalise them in some way. On the 16th of February this year, at a Hounslow House meeting, Councillor Shivrav Gruel accepted the appointment of champion to safeguard older people from any disadvantaging changes. Pages 38 to 41 of the previous meeting minutes refer, including actions, few of which seem to be implemented. He promised 3 relevant meetings this year, none of which have taken place. Also, there has been no publicity of his important role in Hounslow matters. Since then, there has been a major reshuffle of cabinet councillors. So on the 10th of August, I sent Councillor Shivrav an email inviting him to answer questions and comments about any progress with his champion role. Getting no response, I sent him a reminder 5 weeks later on the 12th of September. 2 weeks on, I have yet to hear from him. As I believed it reasonable to raise this unsatisfactory older people's champion matter here, Forum Secretary Bill Lee has arranged for me to do so in the time available to residents. He has also learned the new older people's champion is Councillor Amar Gruel. I and a few thousand vulnerable elderly trust she will publicise her important role and work to improve the past 7 months' safeguarding and communication situation. I await to hear any council comments on the topic tonight. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, John. I've just been reading the response, and I don't think it's worthy to give it to you. I will raise this with Councillor Ajma Garawal. She didn't write this response. An officer wrote it on as a response of hers. So Councillor Shivraj Garawal was quite enthusiastic about this. When we met, and he was up for it. But since then he's changed roles. We've got a new lead member in this function, and I will arrange to talk to Councillor Ajma Garawal, see if we can move on with something a bit more positive. Yeah.
Can I just give you a hint of what I think he should have discovered? Can I give you a hint?
Very briefly, because
I will do it very briefly.
Yeah, go on then.
First of all, the biggest concern is digital switchover. Don't just put in Hounslow matters that it's going to happen. Tell people precisely what you're going to do to save them avoiding isolation and panic when their landline suddenly won't work. Also, I'm concerned that the increasing use of artificial intelligence and robotics bring on the dangers of anonymity. Residents who may have no contact with responsible human beings anymore, and complicated questions cannot be answered by simple people. And lastly, it's an inquiry. Does LBH have a list of vulnerable residents like myself and my wife, and I think a few thousand others, who wish to be placed on such a voluntary list? You have, in effect, a lot of our information already. You know our ages, and you know from the electoral roll information, and probably from your links with the NHS, the circumstances of the many people I speak for who will never get to meetings like this and never understand much of what goes on in council affairs. Thank you.
Thank you as well. We will remind me next time we meet as well, if I haven't reminded you, please, Bill, when we have a debrief on this meeting in 10 days, within 10 days. So let's have a. I do sympathise with you, John. Changes don't get picked up by everybody. Right. Hillary.
Sorry, Gabe.
Yeah.
Could I just actually follow on from that? Because one of the points I wanted to raise is on behalf of a group of people who have found difficulty in working out about the school street system. And as a result of inadvertently going down the street, in one case, returning an elderly person to their home, have been charged with parking. It's that sort of thing with information is needed beforehand so that they would know not to go around those roads at the particular times.
Okay, I mean, I know that would be difficult, but we could, because we don't know where, sometimes we don't know where people are going to be going. Even as drivers, we don't know where we're going to be dropping people off. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, because it's something that's important.
Okay.
That people should
if you've
know.
got any experience of it or evidence of it, let us have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it, John? Briefly, John, and then we've had you before, ma'am. If that's okay, we've really got to close it.
Okay. Just another reminder from this meeting 1 year ago. It was minuted that the head of Parks Development would follow up your request that yearly work plans for her team about local parks will be shared with local councillors and Friends of Parks groups. This just has not happened.
Okay, we got remember that. And how often do you have meetings with your teams, Salman? Daily. Any chance of picking that up with Councillor Salman Shaheen? This work sharing of work plans, is that? Yeah. Mike, come on. I'll be on my way to Bournemouth tomorrow, but yeah, definitely, we'll do something. Yeah, is that all right? Thank you, man. Thank you, John, for your question.
I just simply wanted to ask, are the green bicycles that are all over the place still in the experimental stage, or are they here to stay?
God, we should ask it when we had with the people there, but that's okay, Mr. Thompson. They're still experimental. Your comments on these, anybody got any comments, especially if you live in my ward, anybody got any comments on the Lime bikes and sorry? All right. Well, where do you live? Yeah. But look, by all means, drop us a line. If you got with pictures of any abhorrence, by all means, drop us a line. We've got in my ward, we've got about 20 parking bays, not all well managed. But by all means, let us know. You got my email, haven't you?
just saying that to a councillor. I'll make sure she's got it. It's me.
Thank you, Emily.
I'll make
Sorry.
sure she's got the details.
Okay. You're Sign Park Gardens, aren't you?
Pardon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. I know. Just take pictures and let us know. Anybody else? Right. We've got minutes of the last meeting. Did you share them? Or have we shared them? They're in the agenda. The agenda, right, okay. Any comments on the meetings and the minutes of the last meeting? Last meeting, not from a year ago. Okay, you okay with them, as far as you can see? Good, thank you. Anybody got anything to contribute to ward updates? Maybe next time. And I've not had any other business. Next meeting's scheduled for the 19th of November. And we've got feedback forms that need completing, if you can do that for us. And if you look at the council website, or if you need to get in touch with us, any of the councillors, but drop us if there's anything you'd like to see on the agenda for next time, or in any of the next two meetings, drop us a line as well, and your reasons why. No more than 100 words. All right, is that it? Everybody? So thank you for coming, colleagues, and thank you for coming, residents, and officers for staying as well. All right. Thank you.